Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Active Reload, episode 39. We heard all of your comments.
Yep.
I read all of your comments. I read the comments that said, James, I love the podcast. Greatly appreciate the podcast, but you really need to shave. I heard it. I saw it. I took it to heart. It was pretty brutal. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you saw those comments, Grant.
No, I didn't.
Okay. I can pull. I have one written down right here. It says, James, love the podcast. Very much appreciate what you guys are doing. You look like a basketball that rolled through a freshly mowed lawn.
Oh.
So I heard that, and now I'm freshly shaven. I don't know if this helps you guys at all or anything, but here we are.
Thanks, James.
Freshly shaven face.
I read some comments that said that PUBG really is trash, and you said thank you?
They were right about that. Who was that commented that? You knew them, right?
Yeah. Shout out Deuce.
Shout out Deuce.
We've been playing PUBG a lot lately.
Deuce more like number one.
Whatever.
How about that?
Yeah,
hey, leave a comment. We'll probably respond. Deuce, you were correct. It is not a great game. But, some people...
But we're still having fun.
That's all that matters, really, right?
No, I mean PUBG, the gaming community playing PUBG. We're having a lot more fun than people are at Warzone, that's for sure.
There's always plenty of garbage that people have fun with. Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the saying? One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Thanks. The game's good. It's not terrible.
On this episode of Active Reload, we're going to talk some, probably the biggest news story of the week, Star Wars Battlefront. The collection released, and it has gone swimmingly.
Yeah.
We're going to talk some Apex esports. It has not necessarily...
It's a hack, really.
Yeah, not necessarily Apex esports in general. There's a big hack that's going to bleed into a bunch of other games that you possibly play.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little Rainbow Six Siege.
We're going to have a conversation
about Rainbow Six Siege. They started a new year, season 1 of year 9. They made some sweeping changes that some people love, some people don't love, and we're going to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into games coming up this week and what we're playing. That's the outline.
Yep.
It's real easy.
Real easy. And there are some pretty good games coming out the end of this month, too, which is...
One that doesn't sound like it's going to be good at all, but apparently, according to Grant, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
I don't know which one you're talking about, but
I do. Number one, the big number one that you told me not to make fun of you for, and I shall.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Absolute train wreck.
Right. Let's start there. Star Wars. Ever heard of it? Probably. So they released a collection of Battlefront games.
Dude, first, let me start this off by saying the PlayStation 2, original Xbox, Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 are cherished games.
Well loved.
People love these games. Yes, they are old and they don't fit in modern day multiplayer games, but they're still cherished. Now, Aspyr, the guys who developed or released, I don't know if they developed anything, released this game into the wild. They brought forth a broken game.
Now, you think that's Aspyr's fault, or do you think that's...
No, it falls on Aspyr, for sure.
All right.
I think so. Even if it's not their fault, it's their name attached to it. They're the one who brought it over, porting it over. Now, last week I said that I thought they were going to do a good job. I was going to assume the game worked. Mm-hmm. You had other things.
Tough assumption.
You assumed it was going to be broken, and you were right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And I assume because they don't have a great track record, but they do have a big history of releasing games or porting games over that work. The last games they ported over with a little bit of ray tracing was the Tomb Raider collection, which was loved by everybody who played it.
Yeah.
Some of the controls were not modernized, and I don't think a lot of people liked that, but people who were pure, they were like, heck yeah. And now, Aspyr, they're no Night Dive Studios, so I wasn't expecting that either. I just expected a game that worked.
And that's not what we got.
No.
I just full disclosure, I don't have as much of an affinity for these games as anybody else. I never really grew up playing them, to be honest with you. That was a little... maybe before my prime time of playing video games. My prime time is right now, obviously.
Yeah.
I just... When did those first games go? 2004?
2004, 2003.
Yeah. So, I never really grew up playing those games. I was well into, Halo 2 at that point, and, didn't play a whole lot of... I still didn't grasp the idea of multiplayer at that point.
Yeah, were you playing multiplayer games back then?
No, I was,
I was,
through solo games.
I was, but not on console. I was playing Counter-Strike heavily. But
yeah, so to me, the problem that I had with this video game was one, at least the bells that were ringing in my head, was the fact that they marketed it basically a month and a half away from release. That immediately had me a little worried because this is, like you said, a very well-loved and cherished video game franchise.
Yeah.
And just those two games in particular would have been...
And also, Pandemic. You got to say Pandemic. Those are the guys who developed it. They made a bunch of awesome games in that era.
Part of me wonders is too, because Pandemic's not around anymore.
No.
So
EA killed them.
Yeah, part of me wonders too if it was maybe harder to... Because I don't know if they had like the source code available for those games.
I have no idea. I think that they handed off all work to AI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's no evidence of that. I'm just saying, like,
that's what it feels like.
It feels like textures that were up-res were obviously, some were up-res better than others. Now, they made a statement saying that they had some server failure. Mm-hmm. That's a nice way of saying that.
Especially
we sold you a broken product.
Right.
Because the problems go way beyond the multiplayer. Now, I should say that as of today, they made a pretty big update to the PC game. It's going through certification on consoles. But it fixed some things, but not a lot of things. There are missing cutscenes in the game, in the campaign for Battlefront 2. Half of the audio cutscenes and little videos they cut are gone. It launched with no invert y-axis, which made it, for me,
that's pretty crazy,
completely broken. I have to play inverted.
Yeah.
That's like having a mini golf place and not having left-handed clubs for anybody to use.
That's a good analogy.
So
I never thought about that.
People were like, I have to hit this club backwards. Although I think they're ambidextrous, those little putt things. But I'm talking about real golf.
Well, it's more like a real golf course being like, we don't have any left-handed clubs.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, I think the initial trailer that they showed was only like a month ago, and that made me... Yeah. I was like... Because, again, something like this, a re-release something this big and well-loved would have gained a lot of traction. And it did very quickly.
I think it had 20,000 players playing at the same time at 10 o'clock Pacific time.
Mm-hmm. And they could not handle that.
And there were... On PC, there was 2 servers available for all those people.
Yeah,
that
was a short amount of time.
There's so much lag. There is hit registration, like completely bonkers.
Yeah, there are things that look like they're like incorrect, like problems with the netcode, which is not something that you can just patch. That is like from the ground up you build into that sort of stuff.
There were patches that fixed some of the netcode. They said, and they fixed the invert Y.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, apparently it was just hidden.
Okay.
It was like hidden. No one could see it or access it. It's just, I don't know. It feels like no one played that game over there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too, is it does feel like the simple issue of having the Conquest games with like 100 tickets for each team.
That's another thing.
That would be something that would be so easily recognizable if you play tested the video game.
Yeah. So
be like, oh, this is too quick.
It's a conquest game, kind of like Battlefield, where you have to control more flags than the other team or areas, and you have tickets.
Respawn tickets.
And they count down. From this game, it's 100, which takes about 2 minutes for a match to go through. Yeah.
Almost nothing.
Everybody gets a little over 3 lives.
Right. And that is something that would be so easily detected if you would have just play tested the video game and just been like, oh, okay, this match went way too fast. We got to adjust that. But
those matches need to last 20 minutes.
You're right. It seems like they didn't play test it and figure that out beforehand. And similar to that y-axis thing, it's like some people. There has to be people over there at Aspire that are like the inverted y-axis, and nobody caught on to this. How did that happen? It's just.
There's also certification that goes through consoles. At least I know that for a fact because they go, well, this game works. I don't know if they test it online. Probably not. But they have to be like, there's no invert. It's a shooter. There's no invert Y.
Right.
Like people are going to be upset. I actually got a refund from Microsoft. The first time I've ever got a refund from anybody. It's $35 this game was, or $40. I bought it for $5 off because it was a pre-order.
Right. Especially with
60 gigabytes too. Yeah,
that's pretty absurd. That's bad. Bad. I can't think of the word, but that's bad. The fact that they're small too, like those games are not big games.
No, it was like maybe
60 gigabytes is insane.
I thought it'd be like, I don't know, 2 gigs at the most.
Right. Maybe more, like maybe pushing 10 gigs because they did up-res a lot of the stuff to 10 or to 4K. But 60 gigs. I mean, that's just malware. I hate to say it. No, I'm just kidding. I will say, but like the inverted y-axis for me, for a game like that where they have piloting in it, I'm an inverted y-axis guy when I pilot, and they didn't have that option at all when you're piloting either. So it didn't make any sense. I don't know what they're doing. The most important time for a video game is like the first 48 hours.
Yeah.
And they completely bombed it. Especially a game from a smaller developer like that, where it's a well-beloved game, obviously, but they're not remastering it. It's just a report, essentially, with up-resed resolutions and whatnot.
And I would have assumed quality of life improvements to some things.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, I didn't play the game back when it came out in 2004, but I'd have to imagine that there would be like button improvements or stuff like that, but it doesn't seem like they did any of that.
Yeah, I don't think they did.
Which I don't know if they didn't do any of that. What the hell did they do?
I think they had an AI up-res it.
I don't understand. And also, how did they get control to do this?
I don't know.
I don't understand that either, because EA doesn't own the license anymore, obviously, and I think Star Wars, the brand, is just kind of allowing the license to live freely amongst a bunch of developers.
Yeah.
But
they also used but
like a game like that, those two games, it would have killed the EA games, but if they remastered those games, that would have been huge.
Brought them back. You would have been able to gather up some money to produce a Battlefront 3.
Oh yeah, easily.
Good luck.
Easily.
It's gone. The only way that's going to bring me back is if they heavily discount it and fix everything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to imagine they're not far away from putting, maybe not a discount right now because that would kind of be waving the white flag. But those sorts of talks have to be happening.
Oh, dude, the white flag was waved as soon as this game.
Maybe not, like maybe from you, but not. I think them.
Okay.
I think they are still
they
willing
did fix something.
to work on some things, even though some of the things don't seem like they're going to be
fixed. It's been 1 week and they put out an update.
Yeah. And I think they put out a press release too.
This trend in releasing games that are broken is just
also again.
I have to mention they did get us again. I have to mention that they actually took someone's mod from PC.
Like took it down?
They stole it.
Oh.
And released it in their game, and it was a Star Wars Battlefront 2 mod from, I guess, the Xbox version. Mm-hmm. They brought it to PC a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago maybe, and some modder did that, and he's saying that his mod that he made for free for everybody was taken from the Battlefront Aspire guys and put into this new game without asking them or telling them.
Where do you know where these people are located? Aspire?
No,
I don't know either.
They seem like they're big.
It feels like
everywhere.
It feels like they are right now. Unfortunately, not for good reason.
Because they have a hand in a lot of ports.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
A lot. And I think they started with mobile. I know that they've been working on Star Wars or Knights of the Old Republic, the remake.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And it was canceled.
And then it got canceled.
So
I wonder if they. So were they working on this as well as the KOTOR remake the whole time?
They've been doing a bunch of stuff. They also released a game on Switch, a port to Switch, which I think Switch owners didn't like either. Another Star Wars port, yeah.
Interesting. Wow, Aspire. Maybe Aspire to be more.
Boom.
Got him. Also a very unfortunate name for name calling.
Yeah.
We're going to obviously just AS. All you have to do is add another S, and now you got,
Pyre.
Butt Pyre, and that's unfortunate. But you know what? They kind of they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Either
way, I got my money back. So
yeah, he got a refund, so he's happy. Maybe not happy, but at least maybe resolved.
Do you know what I wouldn't be happy about? Is if I was an Apex professional player.
Hold on a second, okay? I do the transitions here.
Why?
All right, I'm not done.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to talk about the fact that this game kind of epitomizes the issue that I have for straight ports like this.
Yeah, okay.
especially re-releasing them at a cost like that when we have and granted the older Battlefronts, they're backwards compatible, correct, on Xbox Series X and whatnot.
They work fine.
But they don't have multiplayer.
Nope.
Obviously. So essentially when you're buying these ports at $35, $40 with tax, you're buying the opportunity to play multiplayer on this game from 2004 and the up-resed graphics. Yeah. That's all you're buying, essentially. And the fact that and I hate doing this because it's so corny most of the time when people say this. They're so cheesy, but they can't keep getting away with this. Like, it's just, it's so absurd to think that they're able to feed on the nostalgia, because this happens to me as well. I say all the time. Yeah. There are certain games where I would love for them to come back as like a port or something, and I would play the hell out of them.
Yeah, you know what?
Like Blitz is a perfect example.
Yeah. Like if Midway or the guys who do it's Mortal Kombat now. Yeah. So NetherRealm. I don't know if they have the rights to Blitz, but if they did that and they just gave a really bad Blitz with multiplayer capabilities that didn't work, you would be upset. Now, this is why I love to hype up Night Dive, because they do put a lot of effort into making the games that you liked back in the day playable today without changing too much. Mm-hmm. They keep the integrity of the game and the art, and then they just modernize it. And it seems like they don't put too much effort and money behind. How much did the System Shock remake, or was that a remake? Or that was a remake. That was probably very expensive. Right, yeah. But take Quake, for example. Quake 2. Yeah. Quake 2 was announced during QuakeCon, and it was kind of out of the blue. QuakeCon does that a lot. I was going to say, that game released with multiplayer capabilities, and it works perfectly. How much money did they charge for that game? Was it free, or was it? I think it was 10 to 15 or 10 to 20, somewhere around there. $10 to $20, ladies and gentlemen. That's the sweet spot for their games. Yeah. It depends. Their prices go up and down heavily. So I just think a lot of these nostalgia, because it's definitely a nostalgia feat. They want you to see this game that inflicts memories into your noggin, and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna be able to play this game like I did in 2020 or 2004, the 20th anniversary of these video games. I'm gonna be able to do it again." And then they're just like, and to come full circle, more people started playing Battlefront 2, which was also slammed during release, but mostly because of like pay to win, loot box stuff. They've more or less fixed that game, and it's fun. Like the newer Battlefield games, or Battlefront game from EA is a fun video game. Yeah, it works. So it's just it's frustrating, And so I don't want. You know what else is frustrating? So if you're a professional player. A pro esports player? Yeah. Apex. Have you played video games? I don't think Apex is well, first of all, there's a lot of pro esports going on last weekend and this whole week. Mm-hmm. Counter-Strike 2 has their first major, which is big news. Halo Infinite had their Halo Championship Series major. And it's where they always do this in March. Apex had theirs. It's a lot smaller because this one was online only. Mm-hmm. So all these pro players during the finals got hacked by hackers. And they hacked them in a way that was very interesting. Yes. It was, they hack you, but they make it seem like the person that's playing the game is hacking. They gave them wall hacks so they could see through the players through walls and whatnot. And the reactions, even though it's kind of like, it's not funny to laugh at, but seeing the reactions when they're like, I'm cheating. Yeah, well, one guy, funny. I think they got one guy first, and this dude got banned earlier in the tournament. They were like, oh, he's cheating, he's banned, and this guy's like, I swear I'm not cheating. Right. And then during the finals, they got everybody, and how they accessed everybody's computer. Yeah, it was the entire lobby. It was a private lobby, private match. Obviously. Yeah, so they were able to find a way to get in with this cheat somehow into people's private computers and essentially upload cheats to their computer live, which is like an unreal type of a very impressive hack for sure. Some Mr. Robot type stuff. Yeah, and also there are accusations flying around now. So a lot of people online are saying, some like hacker groups or anti-hacker groups, they're saying that it came from Easy Anti-Cheat, which is EA's, I think, their own anti-cheat, although maybe it's not their own. Maybe they just have the EA uses Easy, which is funny because Halo just announced that they're about to use Easy. Yeah. I don't recommend it right now. Well, yeah. Now, Easy has come out and said they're not coming through us. Right. So
which is even worse because that makes it even more terrifying because
because nobody knows where it came from.
Yeah, where is the fire coming from? There's smoke billowing out of the issue, but we have no idea where the fire is.
I'm saying if you have Apex on PC, I don't know if you should
you should absolutely not play it or even open it right now. The other thing is too, though, if it is coming from Easy Anti-Cheat, there are a ton of games that use Easy Anti-Cheat.
Battlefield.
Battlefield is probably the biggest one, but there's like a whole if you go to Steam, you can look, and there's a big list of games that use Easy Anti-Cheat. So that's kind of the bigger story here.
Yes.
Rather than the Apex pros getting hacked, but that was kind of just the beginning of it, essentially.
It did make for some funny videos.
It was. It made me laugh, unfortunately, but it was like that has to be scary for those guys because, this is the profession, and being labeled as a cheater like that, you completely diminish any sort of accountability that you have.
Yeah. And also, you know what? I think pro video game players get a lot of crap for, I don't know, I guess, wasting their life. I don't think they are.
No.
But I think a lot of people would. But these guys are very, very good. They dedicate their entire lives to everything. There's not a lot of money behind Apex probably.
Yeah.
But they still devote their entire lives to be the best. And I'm always appreciative of people who are the best at anything. That's why I like the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's why, I love watching curling. I'll watch the finals of curling.
Curling? Okay.
Yes, I will.
All right.
Maybe not equestrian, walking your horse around, but
Dangerous game. Dangerous game
crew
here, Chief.
and curling. As long as it's a game played at the highest level, I'm watching. I'm interested. And these guys they got their finals ruined.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that stigma's kind of starting to go away the more generations that come up through video games as well, though. With the whole esports isn't a sport thing. Like, I think that's kind of starting to fade off a little bit.
That's why they call it esports.
Yeah.
No one's saying that they're
but,
running
again,
440s.
It'd be cool if they did, though. It'd be really cool. I will say, though, the one thing that does, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, I think, the thing that really, I think, I just had to think like 14 times.
Yeah, think.
Well, I'm always thinking. If you wonder why he's checking his phone, he's getting his oil changed in his car, and he's wondering.
No, we're good.
You're looking at. Everybody can see when you're doing that.
My bad.
Just so you're okay.
My bad. I'm trying to stay on topic. You know what I'm saying?
Stop really quickly. What was I even saying? Oh, the esports. So one of the funny things that I look at, because we want to equate esports to regular sports in some sort of sense, is the fact that they go by like these weird gamer tag names.
That's my favorite part.
In every other sport, they're just their names. But can you imagine if like any other sport they were just called by their nickname?
Yeah.
And anything else?
XFL back in the day, he hate me.
Yeah, but that's why it's not around anymore.
I know. I think some, maybe not racers. Racers will go by their full names.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like, you got to do something to stand out. I like the fact that they go by whatever name they want to go.
Right.
So if some of them go by their first name, last name, or their last name shortened, especially in Europe in Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
But
I think
like,
it should,
shout out Alexi B, famous Counter-Strike player. His name is Alexi B. Something.
I think it's harder for me to remember because they're just random words put together. Like Locust Lizard got that kill.
Yeah.
That's harder for me to remember than Patrick Mahomes.
Forum at Optic for Halo.
Forum is just you open a forum all the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't remember that.
I like it because I'm not going to remember his real name.
See, I'm the
I
opposite.
remember Forum way more.
I'm the opposite because I would remember his real name.
I know.
If
I get it.
If you're good enough, that's how it is for all sports.
I get it. Look at this guy. Checked his phone.
I did check my phone. I apologize.
All right. Now
really quickly, but that's kind of putting a bow on it. The EA anti-cheat.
Yeah.
Just look up the Steam list, and if you are playing on PC, maybe don't open those games right now. Just to be entirely safe, because it's a dangerous game.
I feel bad for anybody who's
pun
releasing
intended.
their multiplayer game using an easy anti-cheat.
But that's the thing is nobody knows where it's coming from, and that's even scarier, because it's like, what do you do? You know?
I mean, how many games do I play that use easy?
Exactly.
Do I have to change my login credentials, or would my origin credentials from EA?
Maybe, yeah. You might have to.
I probably should change everything everywhere.
You know what doesn't use easy anti-cheat?
What?
Rainbow Six Siege.
Rainbow Six Siege. The conversation. This is going to be a big one because I'm going to start this conversation out saying this, James.
Go ahead.
Okay? Just hear me out. I really liked Rainbow Six Siege. I think Rainbow Six Siege is one of my all-time favorite multiplayer games, right? I know you really like it, and I know that your opinion is completely fine. And your opinion, I'm not going to say that your opinion is wrong, and I'm not going to say my opinion is right. But I will say your opinion is wrong and my opinion is right. So listen to me.
I'm ready for the ball to drop. Go ahead. Yeah. That's great.
So they updated this game big time with, and now this has been a slow change where they made things slower. That's the biggest problem that I have right now is that the ADS speed, aim down sight speeds, are slower. And this is a game where you have to check 1 billion corners. So you probably should be ADSing
frequently,
constantly.
Yeah.
Looking at every corner, looking through a telescope practically. And that's kind of what this game now feels like. And I got a bunch of old crew together and we played this game because there's a new season and there's some hype around it. And I just really wanted to play some console Rainbow Six Siege. And everybody did not like it. Everybody was like, why does it feel so slow?
Get good. No, just kidding.
And James,
no, I'm just kidding.
And James has a point that he'd like to make.
My larger experience with Siege is that I always remember Siege, and I've played a lot over the last 7-8 months probably. My larger experience with Siege was always more of a slower game. It was only till recently, within the last 2 years in terms of Rainbow Six Siege, where they really felt like they were updating the ADS speed. And I think a lot more people were disappointed with that because they wanted that older feeling of having the ability to win gunfights just by holding corners and whatnot.
Yeah.
That is something, and for those that don't know, the big update with this update, the big things that a lot of it changed.
Year 9, Season 1?
Year 9, Season 1,
okay.
Yeah. The big update was that they got rid of a lot of like 1.5 scopes for defenders and made it so that you could only have a 2-time scope or like regular 1.0 red dot sights or iron sights. And they also decreased the ADS speed for basically everything.
That's aiming down sight speed.
Right.
So
you can't
slower.
Yeah. You can't look down your sights as quickly if you're coming around a corner and whatnot. I like this change personally because it does add in the previous seasons, the previous season, I guess, there wasn't a whole lot of, it felt like, difference between range combat and close quarter combat because of the ADS speed.
Yeah.
And now, if you're using a 2-time scope, you have an advantage over the range of somebody that's using a 1-times red dot scope or red dot sight. And because the guy with the red dot sight can't aim up as quickly anymore. And I like that. I think that adds a different type of, and more regression to the mean, a different type of play style that I appreciate.
So that definitely changes it up. Now, I do not think that this game sucks now. I think that if it launched this way, I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. I think a lot of people on PC are really sensitive to ADS speed because it's a click as opposed to a pull on a joystick.
Yeah.
And the click it's a toggle. So it's like you really have to wait for your sight to line up in order to shoot. The hip fire or the point fire in this game is wildly inaccurate.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically like shooting out of a fire hose. It's very unrealistic. And if it was realistic, no one would be aiming down sights because these are hallway shooters, basically. Right. I just think the drastic change, especially from somebody who didn't play, because me and my friends, we played in 2015, 2016, 17, and 18. I think most of us stopped in like 2018, 2019. The ADS speed and the speed in general of all the characters have slowed down since the 19 probably. In this last update pretty heavily. One of the biggest things I have a problem with is it doesn't feel athletic anymore. Mm-hmm. So I used to we were watching old videos because we were dissecting this, and we were really good. And so some of us would peek our head without looking down the sights of our gun, and then we'd go back into cover and then aim down sights while peeking really quickly to be kind of aggressive. You just can't do that. You have to be more slower. You have to almost peek first while aiming down sights in case you see somebody. You can just pull a trigger as opposed to getting out of the way. And I don't know. It just makes the game feel like it's through a telescope more often.
I think it makes you, excuse me. I think it makes it more reliant on teammate communication.
Yes,
which I think is huge.
true.
Also, droning.
Yeah, that's another thing. And I will admit this. I really don't like droning.
Doesn't get it.
It's a huge part of this game. I felt like if you were quote unquote athletic enough and you had a 3-speed with a no sight or a red dot sight with an angled grip, which used to make you ADS faster, which doesn't do that anymore. I thought that you can compensate for droning, which is sending your drone out and making sure that the room is clear before you enter it. You shouldn't do that now.
So the way I always saw the 3-speed characters was, and they say speed on it, but I've always seen it as more like a stealth indicator. So
Really?
three speeds are always quieter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Quieter
true.
so you can't hear footsteps. You are a little bit quicker, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's always you're quieter.
Yeah.
Which is something that I
Those
see it
heavy
more
guys
as.
were
Yeah,
heavy.
you're charging through like you're Jason from Halloween, like you're
Thump,
loud.
thump, thump.
But I will say that I think their goal, Ubisoft's goal, whenever they do these new releases, these new years, is they want the game to play differently each season.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting that, which I think is
Definitely.
always a good goal to have because it does keep it sort of fresh.
Yeah.
You're seeing yourself play different characters because of different sights that one might have or the way that the guns react to firing and whatnot. It's having people who became more, using more than, a couple characters, having to change that and use different characters because they're, buffed or whatever, or they just work better with this year or season.
Yes,
or
and
with
that
this
also
update.
brings in new people who want to check out something new or
Exactly.
different, especially if you played for 5,000 hours and
Yeah.
then you want to do something new. But it's a double-edged sword. So I think of it as something like I loved the old Rainbow Six Siege. I know it wasn't as bug-free as it is now, but it was still awesome and a lot more visceral I guess player expression, skill expression is what people used to say. Like people used to play Montaigne, which is a shield guy, radically different than they do now.
But the shields also got an update.
Yes,
so
they did.
they're different now too.
You're running into a lot of them.
Yeah.
But so the game that I loved, even the maps that they designed are gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. So that's disappointing for me. If I ever wanted to go back, like I tried this weekend to have a reunion game with old friends and old crew members, we were like, hey, let's go play some Siege and have some fun times again. And you're just like, wow, this game doesn't exist
It's kind
anymore.
of depressing.
You're like, this doesn't exist anymore. That game that we loved, the house, the map house, which I thought is one of the greatest video game maps, multiplayer maps ever. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Consulate, gone. Doesn't exist anymore.
I think they've only not touched maybe like in terms of rework because they're consistently like Ubisoft's consistently reworking the maps, especially if they're getting banned very frequently in ranked, which that's obviously a big tell for them. I think they've only like not reworked 2 or 3 maps of the originals that they've put out. I think Bank, Border have been the same from the beginning, but Bank may have been reworked, but
Border. I don't
remember.
think it was changed at all. Maybe a couple outdoor things for people running and peeking while
But it's not. It's
spawning.
Yeah, they haven't like because Oregon, which is another one that got a complete rework, was way different back in the day.
Yeah.
But I like the one that they've come up with now. But I just think it goes based off of the amount of people that are just banning it in ranked.
They do.
They take their ranked crowd way more seriously.
Yes, I was
going to
say they cater to the competitive scene
Right.
more than I've ever seen in a video game ever.
Yeah.
Now I think that's fine. I just think that you're erasing that old map that people loved who played this game casually. I played this game casually more than competitively because I played with a lot of people that were wildly different skill range,
Right.
and we just wanted to play with each other because we like hanging out with each other. And now, Like it's like, hey, well, we're not going to play this map anymore because all the good players don't like it. You're like, oh well, I don't care about the good players.
Or yeah,
care about me.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. You're the minority. I think.
Are you? Well, the competitive players are what, the 0.5%.
Well, no, it's not. It's not competitive play. It's just the ranked players. There's like an abundant amount of people that are just playing in copper and
yes,
bronze.
I know. I get a lot of people play ranked in this game.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you have a casual playlist. Why can't we have the casual maps in our casual playlist? We're still playing the ranked maps in the casual playlist. Or the standard, or whatever you want to call it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. I'm still going to be playing this game. I tried it on console, and everybody was like, that I was playing with, were like, never again. It's uninstalled. I played it on PC, and it does feel a lot better because of the quickness of your mouse speed and 144 hertz. I can clear a room while aiming down sights. Like, it's easier. I cannot do that with a controller. I can't. I know Jinxie can. Like one of the greatest console players ever. So I'm not that guy.
Well, he's got a lot more time in the game than both of us. Like combined.
Well, he's playing at a higher sensitivity extreme.
Right. Well, of course, yeah. Also, but I think it rewards your game sense as well, very much. Like,
yes,
if you're
map
going
sense.
into your map sense. If you're going into and you've played this a lot, if you're going into a room, like I said, if you played it a lot, you'll know what corners to clear. First. That's
what Deuce said. My friend, who was a huge Rainbow Six player, he was. Mm-hmm. He says like it just map knowledge is king now.
Yes.
Well, you're not going to outplay.
It's never been more important.
You're not going to outplay or out aim anybody who just knows where the heat spots are.
Yeah, the best peak, or the best angles. Yeah, that's 100% true. That's probably more true in that game than in any other multiplayer game that I've ever played.
I mean, Counter-Strike is, I always bring up Counter-Strike is a pure aim game.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of subtleties in that game where old players, I mean, if you look at the pro scene for Rainbow Six Siege, almost all of them are very young. Mm-hmm. Now, Counter-Strike, there's a lot of really young players, like 18 to 25. But there are some old pros on the best teams that are in their 30s, mid 30s, that can still dominate. Not because their reaction time is better, it's because their map sense and their knowledge of the game is so vast. Rainbow Six Siege is right up there. It's just they keep changing everything. So what are you going to do? They keep changing everything. It's like
got to learn it again.
But learning
for something like a primarily probably a console game. Like I think Siege, you think of primarily a console
I think of
shooter?
It as
multiplayer console shooter?
I don't know. Yeah.
I guess my greater point is I don't think there's really anything that you can do that can match the longevity of Counter-Strike just in terms of, because they don't really change anything when they play.
They change graphics, they change physics, and they change like some recoil patterns and guns and like,
but it's not very often. Like it's pretty it's not as often as like Siege does it, where they do 3 or 4 updates a year essentially.
Yeah, I think
so.
There are updates, but there's basically 3 core Counter-Strike games in the last 25 years.
Right. But people love that game, obviously. And I just think the longevity is harder to match, especially with Counter-Strike having the name that it does, and Siege is nowhere near that, obviously. They just have to try to keep it fresh to bring in more people
I think at one point, Siege was going up. And I remember my friends used to make fun of me because of Counter-Strike, and they're like, Siege is going to be better. Like, the pro scene is probably going to get paid more and everything, and then it just dropped like a sack of marbles, and it keeps coming back up with each update, but someone like me who goes, well, I want to get back into Siege and I'm on console. I'm like, I can't play at this. My memory of the game or my muscle memory of the game is completely gone. So I was terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm good at this game. And I was awful. I barely any kills. I just got my butt kicked. And I'm a high level. I'm like level 174. So the skill-based matchmaking is probably putting me with other players who have been playing this game for a long time. And I haven't played this competitively in 4 years. So
maybe we ought to play.
Yeah, I would love to play. You can carry me. Give me some pointers, Jan. I know you're really good at this game, but I know.
I'm not that good. Anybody that says they're good at that game is probably lying to you.
Well, there's so many different levels of good. Yeah, what do you mean?
Right. Like, well, yeah, it's Yeah, there's different types of good, especially well for that game for sure.
I'm telling you, our friend Deuce was very,
Big
very, very good at this game.
Yeah.
He was really good. He knew everything about these games and everything about the map. He used to brag that he could draw the map out. He probably could have, like on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And these maps are very difficult.
Yeah,
They're
there's
like
a lot of rooms.
Winchester mansions, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of doorways, a lot of rooms, a lot of windows. Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. It was a big game. I know that you like the game a lot. I like this game a lot. I think it's still one of the best multiplayer shooters out there. I mean,
there's not a lot, though.
We're in a time where multiplayer shooters are not great.
Which is also funny.
Star Wars just came out.
Yeah. It's also funny, too, is it's one of the best multiplayer shooters out, and it's in its year 9.
Yeah, year 9.
Ninth year. 2015 is when that game came out.
And then Counter-Strike, they're getting big, and Counter-Strike 2 is not much different from CS 1.6 or CSGO.
By the way, how is Counter-Strike 2 doing? Because I have no sense of if it's well received or not.
A lot of haters keep saying that, like, oh, it's dying. It only has 197,000 people playing concurrently instead of 1 million. But no, it's fine. It's a staple for PC gaming all over the world. It's not going anywhere.
Do you think the improvements, the jump from whatever they were at to 2 was worth it?
Yes. I don't know if it's as big of a drastic change in the gameplay style that some people might have liked. Like, I think people really like the fact that it went from 1.6, which started 1.0 in 2000 and went to 1.6 by 2010 and or 9, and then 2007, and then Source came out, Counter-Strike Source, very different from 1.6. And then CSGO, which is Counter-Strike Global Offensive after Source, another very different new metas, like new pro teams, because just changed. Now from CSGO to CS2, not a big difference. It's just they've honed in their competitive multiplayer game so much so that if you change it, it's like practically changing the rules of baseball or basketball. Everything works, so you don't want to change it.
You don't want to mess with it too much.
I mean, outside of a shot clock and a pitcher's mound.
Yeah,
that's
the pitch clock. Well
done.
The
pitch clock, I like that. Can't stay. I couldn't.
Known baseball lover here.
Yeah, I hated the fact that he took forever, and the batter taking forever to get to the plate. Oh.
It's pretty well universally loved. Yeah.
Yeah. Do people like it now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes. You'll get no offense. You'll get the old heads that are like, this isn't my game, and it's like, brother, your game was dying. They needed this.
I don't know if it was dying, but it was just.
Oh, for the younger generation,
for
it
someone,
was dying.
for like going out to a game felt different when you watch it on TV and you're like, is this guy going to swing at his shoe for 5 times every time there's a ball?
It's just like the biggest problem they had to go through was the time. Just the fact that games would take 4.5 hours.
Yeah, college football went through that too, and then they added more commercials. They're like, we're going to run the clock now instead of stopping it for the chain game.
That was the wrong decision. Chain gang.
And then they just were like, well, we have all these sponsors that used to love the 4.5 hour games. So they still want to pay money. So we'll just have more commercial breaks.
Welcome to the modern sports scene. That's why esports rule.
I actually enjoyed the esports a lot.
I mean, it's in its early stages. Some would argue this is probably the best it's ever going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Evo comes up pretty soon, and I love Evo, which is a fighting game competitive scene, a big kind of tournament. I like Counter-Strike tournaments. I paid for this basically a gambling game that you have with Counter-Strike that you get like unique skins. You just pay $10 and you pick teams to win and rounds to win. And stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, we have a video game podcast. Me and you love video games.
Hey,
so we love sports and general, competition.
We're 39 episodes into this. I just found out. We love video games.
That's 39 episodes. Yeah. Anyways, so that's pretty much the news.
Yeah. That's our conversation about Rainbow Six Siege, Star Wars, Battlefront. Hey, tell us if you're playing Battlefront Collection, because we aren't. So is it improving? Is it not improving?
I would like to know if it has improved. I had to get my money back really quickly. Yeah,
it's a quick turnaround if you want to get their money back.
Before they said, no, we're not going to give you your money back. You've had it for a week.
Especially if it's digital like that. I think they give you, like, it's either an hour limit or a certain number of days before you can
I believe it's 2 hours and a certain amount of days. Yeah. And I probably played a little over 2 hours, but I returned it. Mm-hmm. And I think I got some slack or I got some leeway because everybody was asking for
a high
refunds.
amount of return requests. So yeah, that's the news. Those are the topics. We got some games coming out
Games
this week.
releasing this week.
Games releasing this week. Grant, what's the first one? Go ahead and say it out loud for everybody in the classroom, please.
I will. And I'm going to go to my grave saying I love this development team. But their new game comes out. Or it actually came out a couple weeks ago, and I just missed it. So that happens a lot. But I'm still shouting them out. I think you should buy it. Unicorn Overlord. Let me say that again. Unicorn Overlord.
Yeah.
Is this a bell ringer?
I don't even know what that means. What is that?
So the team that makes this is called Vanillaware. They make awesome games, very heavy artistic games.
Right.
I like to compare them with Supergiant Games, which is kind of a popular developer in America, at least.
What does Supergiant
They did
because I recognize the name.
They did Bastion back in the day, top-down RPG.
He's one of my favorite characters in Overwatch.
Transistor, Pyre, and their most successful game, Hades, came out last year.
Oh, Hades, that's right. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and these development teams, they have a similar through line, which is they have the same art style. They have an in-house artist that is amazing, and they base all their art off of this guy's skills as an artist, and they push out different genres of games. So Vanillaware has made like Grim Grimoire, Miramasa, Dragon's Crown, and one of my all-time favorite games, Odin Sphere.
Can you say the Grim name?
Grim Grimoire. Grimoire.
Close enough.
It's like a card.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
That was good.
a lot of these games are very different from each other, but they have amazing artwork. And Unicorn Overlord is a turn-based strategy game.
Wow. Let's move on to the next one. No, yeah.
So I think you should get this game. Awesome.
Hades is very well. It's not from the same development team, but
if you were to play a Vanillaware game just like Hades, you'd be wow, this game looks beautiful.
All right.
It's a striking art style.
Hades was game of the year for many places.
Yep. And it's actually Supergiant's going to make Hades 2 comes out this year, which is something that they never do. They never make sequels. Mm-hmm. They usually go back to the drawing board and make a wildly different game. Right. Like when they after Transistor, they made Pyre, which is a.
Is it a?
It's like a RPG NBA Jam in a fantasy setting. It feels like NBA Jam. Like the gameplay is like NBA Jam.
What was that one?
It's a game.
What was that turn-based football game that came out not too long ago?
Oh,
within the last 10 years.
Oh, there's Mutant League.
That one.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's awesome too.
Is it similar to that?
No, it's not like. So Pyre was more like 2v2 with a goal, and it like NBA Jam.
Okay, all right, sure.
It's so hard to describe. Like try describing Odin Sphere. It's a side-scrolling sphere game where you button mash.
Yeah, and you fight Odin.
You fight Odin. You fight.
The description's in the title.
It's Norse mythology, and you play multiple different characters, and the character design is immaculate. Some of the best character designers in video game history.
So Vanillaware, they do it like they do it similar where they focus on one artist, like
yes.
Toriyama, the guy that just passed away, right? Like similar to that.
Yeah, like Dragon Ball guy?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly like that.
Cool.
The next game, Call of Duty Warzone, the mobile version, is coming out, James.
Wow.
Holy jeez.
I can't wait to not download this.
I'm going to play it.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm going to try it out.
Now, do you play PUBG Mobile?
No, but I'll play Call of Duty Mobile
PUBG.
on iPad. Sometimes, and I like PUBG.
It's weird that they're doing these battle royale guns and putting them on mobile.
It's kind of funny because Call of Duty Mobile is very popular, and there's a battle royale mode. Call of Duty Mobile is a game that's extremely popular, and it has multiple maps in their BR mode.
But they're releasing Call of Duty Warzone.
Mobile. Which will actually be just like your console version. It's the same progression and everything.
I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. The more these massive game companies, which they already are, but the more they're getting into mobile, the more it worries me, to be honest with you. I don't love that.
Yeah.
Like, don't you all have phones? That's a Diablo mobile joke. Is that what it was called? Diablo Mobile?
Or no, it was Diablo Eternal, I think.
Diablo Eternal? That's a Diablo Eternal joke for all my Diablo heads out there.
That kind of hit me.
That was so... that That was the end for
It's a
them.
little offensive, actually.
It is offensive, absolutely. Well, yeah, all the people going there, they were hearing about a new Diablo game.
yeah.
And then they were like, mobile game. Of course, I'd be pissed too.
Yeah,
And
that's
they're
true.
like, don't you all have phones? Oh, shut up, dude.
South Park Snow Day comes out. It's like almost a season too late.
Is this the third movie? Or
Yeah, pretty much.
third game?
Yeah.
Stick of Truth. What's the other one?
The Fractured But Whole.
Yeah, Fractured. That's so good. And then Snow Day.
I'm so glad I get to say that out loud on a podcast.
I lobbed that up for
I
you.
haven't been able to do that.
Fractured Butthole.
Yep. That's what it's called.
That's a great name. Oh, that's one of the great names. I would argue one of the great names of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
South Park
Definitely.
Fractured Butthole.
Yep.
I can't say that without. Anyways, Dragon's Dogma 2, great character creator. If you've seen anything about Dragon's Dogma 2, it's probably about the character creation system. It's unbelievable. I've seen Homer Simpson. I've seen Kratos from God of War. I've seen Paul Atreides, even though that one's kind of easy. I've seen just a new.
You saw Homer Simpson?
Yeah.
A yellow guy?
Yeah. I saw somebody did Homer Simpson. I was like, that's impressive.
Yeah, this is Capcom's new RPG, action RPG.
Yeah.
Long time coming.
Long awaited. Yeah. Very, very hyped game.
It will be 30 FPS on console. That's a no-go for me, dog. No-go. Not in 2024.
You know how many? Isn't it an RTS?
No, it's an action. Like
It's a third person?
It's a third-person action game, kind of like, like a million of them, like God of War, but pulled back a lot.
Right.
And
so closer to like Diablo is what I'm thinking.
No.
All right. I'm good at this.
It's closer to, it's got a unique combat mechanic where you can climb enemies. Enemies are very big and you can climb on the backs and hack
Monster
at them.
Hunter.
Like Monster Hunter, but way more fluid, way more intuitive.
Except 30 frames.
And on PC, it should be fine, but console?
Will you get over it?
No, I can't. I can't play my games as if it's coming from a PlayStation 2.
You got to figure it out, man. How did you play your games when you played them on a PlayStation 2?
I didn't go from 60 or 120 back to 30. That's the problem. It's going backwards that I can't do. I used to play PlayStation 1 games and I would be enthralled by the graphics. But are you enthralled by the graphics now?
What if they released that Battlefront collection and it was perfect? And everything was perfect. All the settings worked perfectly. The online worked perfectly. And it was a 30-frame game just like it was back in 2004.
No, it wouldn't be able to do it.
Why not?
Because first of all, because of the backwards compatibility on Xbox of the original Xbox game runs at 60 4K.
Right.
So
let's assume it didn't.
Is this assuming that never came out? They never had that technology.
Yeah.
Then no, I wouldn't play it. Not in 2024.
That's insane, dude.
I can't do it. How am I supposed to do it? The only thing
You're
I can
missing
do,
out on great games.
I can play a slow-moving third-person action adventure game. Like
Horizon.
No, that's way too action.
It's great at 30 frames too.
It's way too much action.
I played that entire game at 30
I know,
frames.
but it's way too much action. There's bow and arrows. You need to be timing and everything. Something more like maybe Last of Us. A cinematic heavy game.
Okay.
Aiming isn't so
Some would argue
important.
that game needs to be at 24 frames and a TV show. No.
Yes, and it is.
And it is. And it's good.
Maybe you should say it that way.
Agreed. Anyways.
Rise of the Ronin.
Rise of the Ronin. Yeah, I'm surprised this comes out so soon.
I know. This
blew my mind.
Team Ninja's Sekiro style.
Yeah. Neo. Because I think they made
style.
Neo, if
They
I
made
remember
Neo,
correctly.
yeah. And more importantly, they made Ninja Gaiden one of the greatest games ever. And I've been asking for these guys to go back to that style of third-person action games.
Seems like they are.
And I think they are. It's just
like
open world. Now it's open world. So
Yeah.
feudal Japan.
Feudal Japan is
I think I might
right
get this
now.
game.
Yeah, why not?
I think I might
This is
get
what
it.
you want. It's the Team
If you
Ninja
like
guys.
Assassin's Creed style games, but with actual good combat, you'll probably love this game.
I don't like that from you.
No,
That was unnecessary.
Assassin's Creed is not good combat.
It's fun. It's a fun loop.
I guess
love
it's
it.
cool looking.
Yeah.
And it does have that loop.
You know what game I miss that I thought of over the weekend?
What?
That I kind of wanted to play? Rise Son of Rome. God, I
Yeah,
love
I
that game.
actually saw that in my library, and I was like, I've never played that on the Series X, and I know there's a...
They have an update for it,
An
even
update.
though I'm pretty sure that game was the reason that Crytek closed down.
Yep.
Even though that
And
game's great. I love Rise Son of Rome.
Crytek didn't close down, by the way, but they did
But they
take
had
a
to
long...
morph, didn't they?
Huh?
I thought they had to get merged into something else.
They might have. But they made Hunt Showdown and
Yeah.
a couple of other games.
But they were making Crysis, and those were huge games. And then Rise Son
Yes.
of Rome, which was a launch game on the Xbox One. And that game was great. It still looks good, by the way. And the combat's fun. Some people hate the combat, but I actually love it.
It's repetitive, but it's so visceral that
it's very visceral. And the
you're
story's
like,
great.
whoa, that sword went right through that guy's face.
And
one of the greatest intro levels of all time, by the way.
Really?
Do you remember that?
Yeah, the one where
it's like there's sieging a castle and there's catapults coming behind you. Very, very awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Marius. Shout out Marius.
Marius. Oh, that's his name?
That's the main character. Yeah, he's dead. But, spoilers. Shout out Marius.
I never finished that game.
Oh,
and
really?
I was just saying how I...
Okay, you can't blame... That game came out 12 years ago. All right.
And you say he dies?
Let's chill out.
At the end?
Well, it's kind of implied. Because he's... they're talking about the story of the Roman hero that is betrayed by his commanders, and he comes back to life. And
Maximus Decimus Meridius?
That's his name.
General?
Something, yeah. And then he comes back as like a ghost and haunts them and kills them all, and that's basically what happens.
Comes back as Ridley Scott.
You didn't beat that game?
No,
oh my
I
god!
never
The
did.
final level when you're not fighting Nero, but when you fight like you're fighting Nero, quote
you fighting
unquote.
Nero, really?
And,
okay.
Yeah, Emperor Nero, and then you fight him. It's awesome. It's awesome. God, it's crazy that game still looks good, and then we get like just stuff that doesn't look good.
Yeah,
Big brain stuff right there.
Like the game I'm playing right now.
Yeah, like Battlefront. No, wait, sorry, not Battlefront. SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Yeah, I'm playing.
Rehydrated?
Yeah, it came out a few years ago, but it came to Game Pass, and it was a remaster of an old 360 game.
Remastered?
Yes, it's a remaster. I'm playing SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom because
Why?
Odin wanted to play.
Okay,
my son.
that makes more sense.
And
Children.
I was like, let's play this game. Little did he know, this is a what are those game mascot action adventure games?
Oh, I know what you're. Yeah.
Where-
Hyper realistic, super bloody.
No.
Can you imagine? That'd be really funny.
But there's a lot of platforming. It's it's like an action platformer, but in 3D. It's one of those games like Nuts and Bolts. What are those? Banjo-Kazooie. Very much like Banjo-Kazooie or Conquer, Bad Fur Day, but for kids.
You're right.
And
that's the
a lot
version
of jumping, a lot of timing. Bad guys or if bosses have 3 hits, like Mario 64. This game's a little too hard for him, so I started playing.
What?
And you know what?
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's a hard game. It took me a long time to
You're
beat
like,
the first
now
boss.
take over.
And it was fun, dude. I haven't played like a mascot 3D game.
They should remaster Conquer, by the way.
They remastered Spyro. Did you ever play that?
I remember that, yeah.
And people loved that.
That game's not great. I'm just kidding.
I liked the original.
joke.
I
I
never
like
played the
Spyro.
remaster one. And I would say not Conquer, but
Ratchet and Clank.
The Naughty Dog game.
Oh,
Banjo.
no, he's the
He's a thing
yeah.
that
Oh
is
my God.
named
Crash.
Crash Bandicoot. It's like
Crash
Bandicoot is like this, but not an open world.
They also did that with Ratchet and Clank, though.
Yeah, they did.
Like remade Ratchet and Clank, and it was really good.
Yeah.
And they made a movie too, a movie that came out at the same time.
Yeah, and then I'm just playing, Siege and Battlefront, which I talked about, and Ghosts of Tabor, which is a VR game.
Oh right, yeah, that was one of your games of the year, wasn't it?
I mentioned it.
Yeah.
Because I just thought it needed to be mentioned, but
Oh,
it's still in beta. It never really fully came out, and it's a Tarkov like VR game. I love doing this.
Still in beta.
I love doing this. You could talk to the people in the game that are you just
Right.
So I pulled my gun out. This was the other day, and I was like, "Hey, I'm just looking for loot. Don't shoot me." And the guy was like, "Drop your gun." And I said, "No, I'm not dropping my gun."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I'm going to shoot you if you don't drop your gun." I was like, "Well, you're going to shoot me, and I have loot that is worth something. I want to extract and get out of here, and I don't."
I'd rather you didn't fight me.
I just want to go. And he's like, "I'm not going to let you go." And so I said, "Okay." And we had a little shoot off, and I shot him in the head, and I looted his stuff, and I carried 2 guns in my hands and like ran to the extraction. This game is a lot of fun.
Shout out Ghosts of Tabor.
Yeah. That's it, James. That's all I'm playing.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap Just kidding. I got to talk about my games.
What are you playing?
My games? I'm playing some big stuff right now. Not really. MLB The Show came out. Playing MLB The Show. You guys know how it goes. Hitting dingers. Striking people out. You guys know how it goes.
You were worried that it was going to be too similar to last year.
Oh, it is. Always is. But here's the thing. They have my money no matter what. They have a literal hand in my pocket till the day I die, I think.
It's like me and NCAA, the future of NCAA
exactly.
football games.
I will say there is reason to, I think, complain about the fact that it's maybe too similar to last year's game. There's not a whole lot that's different, especially they changed some of like the hair effects or whatever. But they haven't like upgraded their engine in a long time. It feels like they're still making stuff for old gen. Which, no offense to the old gen people, gotta
that's
move
annoying.
on.
I will say that this as a, I mean, I'm not a casual player, but if someone walked by my TV and saw me playing this game, they would confuse this for a real life sporting event more than any game I would have.
Really?
You think so?
I would say 2K. 2K.
No, basketball.
2K
once you
does that
really
more.
look at it, they start to look like
No.
you're waiting. They're waiting for their animation. But in baseball, since it's slow anyways, you're just looking at people standing around.
Right.
And it looks
that's
realistic.
fair. You're not zooming into the faces very often in this game, so that's fair. But I mean, I would say like for the most part, like the actual animation of the guys in 2K are very, very good.
Yeah.
Facially and whatnot.
Yeah.
They look very good.
Watching someone slide into second,
Yeah.
and like almost getting out, it looks really good.
But now their hair looks really cool too.
I didn't notice that.
Add that to the list. They got flowing locks now. It's not all sticking to the back of the
Yeah,
neck.
I thought maybe you would have got the hair cutting simulator and tried it out.
Is that out? Oh,
Yeah, it's out.
Maybe I will try that out.
I
didn't realize it was out.
I want to cut some hair.
You're doing the wrong profession.
I should just.
Do you think that's how people are going to figure out what jobs they want to do in the future? They're just like given simulators and
they're like, hey, do you like farming?
What do you like to do? Yeah, exactly. Hey, do you like farming? Hey, there's
They're
cubicle
like, there's
simulator.
this great game called Farming Simulator. Try it in real life, and they just last a half a day, and then I don't want to do this.
How about accounting simulator? Do you want to do that? You want to do some spreadsheets while you're off?
Well,
Power Wash Simulator.
I did recommend to your sister a bunch of games.
How dare you? I'm just kidding.
I haven't. I just gave a list to your mom, and
How dare you?
I recommended Unpacking, which is a unpacking.
We've
game.
talked about unpacking maybe more than any other game on this
no
podcast.
gaming podcast is talking about unpacking more than
this
one. And it's
so tune into Active Reload for all your
really
unpacking
good.
game news and notes.
I also really enjoyed recommending somebody who just started playing PC games.
Yeah. That's a fun thing to do. Somebody that's like just getting into the genre or any sort of medium.
Yeah.
Like when I used to work at GameStop, people that would come in that are like, I want to start to play a little bit. Like maybe they stopped playing for a long time and then now they're jumping back into it. That was my favorite customer to work with because it's like, I can recommend whatever I want to you. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to say that to a couple of people that working at a bar in San Francisco. They would ask me about things because they would ask me what my day job was because everybody there had multiple jobs. And I'd be like, I was a concept artist for video games. And they'd be like, I just got a new PS4. What game do you recommend? I haven't played video games since, Mario, since this game.
Right.
And I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, the list that I can
do you
go
like
through
gore?
Right. Yeah.
Do you like shooting people?
I can do one for every genre. If you want.
Do you like horror? Do you like...
Yeah.
Guess what? This guy that came out in...
That's Peach.
Am I pointing at Peach?
Yeah.
I meant Mario. Let me see this. Right here?
Nah, there you go. That's Mario.
Hasn't changed much.
Odyssey was a little different, but other than that,
yeah, I mean...
for the most part, it's pretty much been the same. What happened to that, too, by the way?
Jumping
I thought they were going to do more Odyssey stuff because people seem to like Super Mario Odyssey.
that does not interest me. 3D Mario...
Yeah, Mario in general doesn't really interest me.
I like running and jumping and the platform.
Yeah, I know.
Hard
You're
games.
playing SpongeBob SquarePants 4 Bikini Bottom Rehydrated or whatever. So we know that.
I'm fighting robots in Bikini Bottom. My son is telling me I have never watched SpongeBob at all until I got a kid.
Really?
Until like 6 months ago. And so he's explaining to me everything. He's like, that's Squidward's house. Everything's modeled pretty accurately, apparently.
Stone face. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't know they were neighbors. He was like, yeah, they're neighbors.
Come on, man.
And Patrick lives under a rock because he's a starfish.
Yeah, because he's a starfish. Exactly.
His house is a rock. And I love that you can go and enjoy like the cartoon in the game. It's really cool. Even Odin will say it looks different because this looks like claymation. He's actually it's 3D. It's a 3D model as opposed to a flat cartoon.
That's not 2D. That'd be weird. You need to go back and you should watch SpongeBob. Like the first 3 seasons are pretty immaculate.
Like when I come home today, like it'll be on for like 30 minutes when I get home, and I'll pay attention because I've played the video game now.
Right.
There was an episode where Squidward, he's the squid guy, obviously the green guy.
Right.
He was looking like a model or something.
Oh yeah, that's a great episode.
And in the video game, like you come across him where he looks like a model.
He's got the
later in
perfect
the
cheeks.
game.
He's like, it's awesome.
He looks like a Chad.
Yeah, he's awesome. SpongeBob's great. I didn't grow up too much with it either, but I remember like looking back on those like first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, and I was like, these are like still really good.
Yeah,
for older animation.
It does remind me of Ren and Stimpy, which I used to love when I was little, because it does that method where it zooms in on a character and there's a lot more detail, like a static image.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was made famous by Ren and Stimpy.
Did you find Sandy's house?
Yeah, I was playing as Sandy too, and I didn't know that she was from Texas because there's a bunch of Texas-shaped icons that I was like, what do these do? And Odin was like, she's from Texas.
Texas.
And I was like, oh, he said Sandy's from Texas. And I was like, oh, so you can switch characters at bus stops. And so I knew to pick Sandy to use her rope to get across stuff using those Texas icons. Man. And she goes, don't mess with Texas. I'm like, oh, I like Sandy.
Who would have thought SpongeBob Battle of Bikini Bottom Rehydrated was more like GTA than you would have thought?
Yeah,
where you could just switch characters.
You have to go to a bus stop and it'll switch.
Oh, okay.
And, they go, right. And Patrick is...
Some of them are better at things than others.
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Patrick is not good at fighting,
right?
But he's really good at jumping up high in the air and like landing flat
on his
covering
face,
like an area of effect.
Right.
And then he's slow to get up, but he does a lot of damage, and he's really goofy.
We spent 10 minutes on SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Okay,
let's wrap it up.
Reload.
Let's wrap it up. I'm playing MLB Show. I'm playing Dead Island 2 still. Dying Light 2. Still zombies. You know, that's it.
Wow, you're playing both those games. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Honestly, going back and forth is weird because it's like in Dying Light, obviously, you're a lot faster than you are in Dead Island. So it's like kind of a weird difference, but it's cool. I still like it. I'm having fun. So yeah, that's going to wrap things up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've been your host, James Timberlake. That's Grant Uri. Please remember to subscribe to the YouTube page. We appreciate it very much for everybody that is there, leaving comments. We see you guys. We appreciate it very much. Tell your friends about us. Best way to spread it, word of mouth. It's like a disease, but in a good way. Cool disease.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Use peroxide.
Yes, use peroxide and then tell them about us. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Peace
Later.
out.
Uninstall Rainbow Six.